We all enjoy the changing of the seasons. Fall is a special time to be thankful for our families and many blessings. It is also a great time, though, to review your insurance coverages. Alpha Insurance and hometown agent Jeff Nee can help you personalize your insurance needs. The more you protect, the more you save. With helpful customer service teams right here to serve you in Alabama and over in Mississippi, you can count on Alpha to provide the insurance plan that provides the protection that you need. For all your auto, home, life, and business insurance needs, call Alpha agent Jeff Nee or drop by his office at 202 McFarland Boulevard East, Suite 101 in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. And remember, with Jeff Nee, the more you protect, the more you save. Jeff Bagwell of Honey Hole Fisheries, right here in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, is a professional biologist who specializes in lake management. If you are interested in helping build the pond or lake of your dreams, or if you need help deciding if property you own is a good location to build a pond, you can contact Jeff Bagwell at 205-799-0192. Once again, that is Jeff Bagwell and Honey Hole Fisheries at 205-799-0192. Contact him today and let him help you build the lake or pond of your dreams, or also stock your pond or lake with fish that you most desperately need. How would you like to live where you love in the state of Alabama? Whether it is you're upsizing, downsizing, retiring at the beach, or relocating for your job, then you are going to want to contact Celeste Hagler, owner of First Class Real Estate South Home Group, with brokers in Tuscaloosa, Orange Beach, and Huntsville. They can help you with the buying, selling, and investment needs throughout the state of Alabama. You can contact Celeste at 205-861-5698. Once again, that is 205-861-5698, and schedule a consultation to discuss your real estate goals anywhere across the state of Alabama. And we want to welcome you into the Tuesday edition of the Stingray Show. Hope all is well with you on this very foggy morning out there across the deep south. I don't know about up there in Memphis, Heath, but here in Tuscaloosa, it was a very foggy night and morning this morning.
Oh, good morning, Stephen. It's not foggy here, but a very low ceiling. Clouds are really low, and it doesn't look like we're going to see the sun today.
So frustrating, man. Let the sun shine, man.
I hear you. I hear you on that. Hey, Stephen, I meant to mention this on first show back as we started the year. I just want to give a quick shout out to the Wright family. The Wrights, I grew up with them in South Haven when South Haven was a very small town back in the '80s. But Mr. David Wright, I've always made the story on the show that he went to Oklahoma. He walked on and played football there, and he's the one that made the jokes. It was to my junior year that I didn't know that Texas was the Longhorns. I always thought they were the Unicorns because how they were always giving us the one finger salute to us Sooners.
Right.
Yeah, he used to make that joke, but we lost Mr. David and passed away, and he had been battling a heart issue for most of his adult life, and
Right.
lived on this earth for almost 80 years. And his mother's still with us at 103.
Gee.
But David Wright, a fun guy, and you always enjoyed his stories. He always left people laughing and smiling. He's no longer with us. I was glad that I got to see his sons and glad to get to go to his service. But just wanted to give a shout out to the Wright family because they're good people. They're special people. If you ever met the Wrights, you know them and love them and adore them, just like everybody else. So shout out to the Wrights, and I've been thinking about them and praying for them. And so, hey, being Stephen, hey, if you pass away, we might show up to your funeral service. There's no promises, but we might be there.
All right, so Heath, are you ready? Because this is the pre-show. to do the National Day of today, the National History of today, and the National Birthdays of today.
Hey, I'm going to spoil two for you. My oldest son, Big John, turning 15. We got to go get his driver's permit later. It's his birthday today. But Steven, I'm going to drop one on you. I heard it on the radio this morning. I was taking the kids to school. Today, National Take Your Christmas Tree Down today.
Really?
Yeah, I heard that on the radio. So if you still got your Christmas tree up, today is the official national holiday to take it down. Hey,
Right.
but folks here in the Memphis area, we used to leave the lights up, especially outside our home, to celebrate Elvis's birthday. So we're not there yet. We're almost there. But yeah, we used to leave it up, and you turn the lights on one last time for Elvis's birthday. Then you could take them down.
Gotcha.
Not
All
many
right.
folks do that anymore.
So, Heath, today is January the 6th. We're moving right on along, and we will also be telling you that today is National Cuddle Up Day. If you have a significant other, or maybe even a wife or a girlfriend, today is National Cuddle Up Day.
Steven, who do you cuddle up with the most?
Dude, I can't say that on the air. What are you talking about?
Why not?
I'm just going to move on from that. All right. It is also National Technology Day, and I'm very thankful for all of the technology, and especially the technology that we have right now, where you can be in Memphis, I can be in Tuscaloosa, and we can do a show together. Thank you to technology for that. Today is National Technology Day.
Hey, Steven, what is one, like, I don't know, TikTok, Instagram account, or something that you've seen technology wise in the last 24 hours? What's one thing that you've seen that you've been impressed with the most?
I've actually started watching the videos and the reels from Mr. Beast.
Oh,
He's
dude,
got
yeah.
some really fun videos, especially when he groups two people together and makes them stay together, chained or whatever, for like 30 days, 50 days, 100 days for 250,000 or $500,000 in cash. That's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it is. You know, he had a show. I can't remember how many. Like it starts with like 1,000 people, and the winner gets like $5 million or whatever. Uh, like my son was begging me to watch that show, and then like I started watching. Me and my wife both got into it
Yeah.
to watch it, and now like a new season's going to drop here shortly, and all this. But hey, I'll drop one on you. I came across this the other day, and I was showing it to somebody yesterday. We ate. Me and my wife ate with some friends last night. There's this guy named John from John Breaks Bad News, and you pay him, and he calls whoever you want him to call, and he breaks the bad news. So it's a lot of like employees or coworkers, I should say, that call like, hey, Michael, whatever the guy's name is that he's calling, just want to let you know that we think you're a piece of garbage at work and you're doing this. And we know that you lied to the boss about this. And we know about the sneaky stuff you did. We think you're a piece of garbage and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, holy jeez. And then he wraps up with every call like, okay, that's all they wanted to say. I love you. And you're like, what?
That's
You
awesome.
can pay this guy named John, and John breaks bad news. The videos are hilarious. Love it.
I will also tell you, if you are in a funny mood, there is a guy out of Northwest Arkansas who has blown up on TikTok and on Facebook. Don't know if he's on Instagram or not, but his name is Ricky and the Boss Man. And he does these little skits about construction, and he plays four guys himself, four different characters in the videos. They are awesome.
I will try to check that out.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
from Northwest Arkansas, and he has over 4.5 million followers on
Hey,
Facebook.
since we're on the 365 Nation now, here's the fun thing. SEC fans, like, I get asked this question from random fans, and I've been asked this question even back when I was a reporter and on CSS, the original SEC network. And the question was this: what fan base loves their team the most? Like who
Arkansas.
has the most passionate fans? For me, Stephen, hands down, it is the Arkansas Razorbacks. Their fans love the Razorbacks. No matter, like, some teams will cheer. Like usually, like I've been to many Ole Miss games. I can't count how many Ole Miss games I've been to. But like usually, the loudest cheer is when the other team makes a mistake. I've been
Right.
to Tuscaloosa. I've been to Auburn. I've been down to the Swamp. I've been just about everywhere. It's more like where I haven't been. Arkansas, they just cheer for joy for the Razorbacks. Like they do anything good, they get beside themselves.
Yeah.
It always just blows, and how quick they are to pick them up after like a fumble that they gave the ball away. Like, come on, defense, we'll get it back, we'll get it back. And I'm like, wow. I was like, these guys really love their Hogs, but
Yeah.
hands down. And I'll say this: the fans that smoke the most in the SEC, Arkansas fans as well.
All right. So, Heath, let's go ahead and continue because today is also, here's a food alert, National Bean Day. My favorite bean is green bean. My least favorite is lima beans. Ugh.
Oh, but I like lima beans. Um, you caught me flat-footed on that one. Off the top of my head, refried beans might be my favorite.
Right.
Um, I even like white northern beans. I'll crave those like 2 or 3 times a year. I don't know what my least favorite bean is. I don't know if I have a least favorite bean. You know what? Depending on how you cook your green beans, I don't like I'll skip over the green beans, but sometimes that's the first thing I go to. It just depends on how you cook them.
Right.
So I'll say my least favorite is like green beans out of the can, just warmed up. That's it. My favorite refried beans. So there you go. You,
All
you
right.
get me beamed out on that one. You caught me off guard. Steven, I'm a geography nerd. Where's Beantown?
I have no idea.
Boston. Come on, man.
Yeah.
Boston is Beantown.
All right. Heath, going to the birthdays. We have one national birthday today. This guy was born in 1960. He was a defensive end who played 13 seasons in the National Football League with the Raiders. He followed his athletic career as an analyst and an actor. Who am I talking about?
Analyst and an actor who played for the Raiders for 13 years.
Defensive end. I
Care
believe
about Merrill?
I believe he is on Fox Sports. Don't quote me on that,
Are
but
you
I
talking about
think
Howie Long?
Howie Long, yes sir. Today
I
is his
forgot he was in
birthday.
like one crappy movie. He was like a firefighter or something that fights wildfires. Never saw that movie.
So today
But I
is
loved Howie Long, man. Number 75. He was
yep,
a beast out there.
yep. So today is the birthday of NFL great Howie Long,
How old is Howie?
1960.
So that's going to put him, oh man, Howie Long's 15 years older than me. So that's going to put him at 65.
Yep,
Wow. Howie's old now, man.
yep.
That's great. I bet you Howie could still throw down with most of the people.
All
He's always
right.
this mild mannered guy on set. He was a madman on the field.
Yep.
He always cut his jersey too. Had that V right there. He was a bad dude.
All right, Heath, when we go to the national history of today, we've got quite a few. Can you tell me what happened in the NBA that still stands today on January the 6th of 1951?
I would have to guess Wilt Chamberlain's 100-point game. Nope. What is it?
This was still the longest game in NBA history, lasting a total minutes of 78 minutes of play, 6 overtimes, The Indianapolis Olympians defeated the Rochester Royals 75-73, and the game was played before the introduction of the shot clock, which was done in 1954, allowing teams to hold the ball for an extended periods, resulting in few scoring opportunities, especially in the extra periods.
Wow. I'm happy to see that some of the high schools, I didn't even know here in Mississippi, they've even put it in. They're putting in shot clocks. And
Yeah.
I've always thought they should have done that, even back in the late 80s, early 90s. And the excuse was it just costs so much money. And now you got to find another official to run that clock. And that's just going to cost the schools way too much money.
Hmm.
And here we are 30 years later, we're starting to actually put it in. But wow, the shot clock probably came from this game.
Yes.
So wow, just holding the ball. How many overtimes you say?
6.
6 overtimes. That's insane.
78 minutes of play on the court.
Wow.
All right.
Times.
When we have a lot of music today.
Oh, I'm up for this.
When we move to 1957, who made his final and 7th appearance on the Ed Sullivan Show?
57. It's not Elvis.
Yes, it is.
Oh, is it really?
Yes.
Oh, because he got in trouble. It's probably his first and last appearance.
It was his 7th but final appearance on
Oh,
the Ed Sullivan Show.
Elvis. Wow. Elvis made 7 appearances on Ed Sullivan.
Yep.
Wow. I'm surprised they let him come back after the first, but wow. Okay, so Elvis 7. I'm sure that there's clips of that on YouTube somewhere.
Yep. All right, let's go ahead and move to 1968. And on January the 6th of 1968, this famous album goes to number 1 and stays at number 1 for 8 straight weeks. The iconic songs on this album included Penny Lane and Hello Goodbye, the magical mystery tour from the Beatles.
I'm about to say hello goodbye is what gave it away to me for me. But I like the Beatles. I just never was in love with the Beatles, and I'm not hating on the Beatles. I won't make fun of you if you like them. But the group Rain is like a cover band of the Beatles,
Yeah.
and they dress like them and everything. Been together for like twice as long as the Beatles were together. So, Stephen, have you ever checked out Rain, or would you check out Rain, the Beatles cover band?
I'm not a Beatles fan, dude.
Well, there you go.
All right, let's move because we got 2 things that happened in 75, and this was done because of a lot of this right here. In 1975, on January the 6th, 1,000 Led Zeppelin fans waiting overnight inside the lobby of the Boston Gardens for tickets for the group's February the 4th gig to go on sale. They caused a riot and an estimated $30,000 in damages.
Wow. I wonder what that translates to today.
Right.
Let's see. You say $30,000 worth of damages in 75?
Yes.
Let's see, Stephen.
There was some smoking on that right now, dude.
It's not that much damage in today's money. I don't have 30,000, much less 30,000 in 1975 with inflation comes out between 180,000 to 188,000.
Right.
So not too much damage. Stephen, you always hear about people talking about, oh, I wish I could go back to the 80s. I wish I could go back to the 90s. I wish I could go back to whatever. Do people not remember like every restaurant smelled like smoke?
Yeah.
Like there were ashtrays at McDonald's. I used to crumble those ashtrays up because they were just plastic.
Yeah.
But as a little kid, you think you were the strongest man in the world, could take on Jerry Lawler because you could crumble up an ashtray at McDonald's. But wow, it's crazy to think about Damage. I wonder what they damaged that cost, in today's money, 180 grand.
I have no idea, but that would have been something to see. All right, let's move on. Can you tell me also on this day in 75 what game show debuts on NBC that is still going today?
Debuted on NBC in what year?
75.
Ah, is it really Wheel of Fortune?
Yes, sir.
I would
And
not have guessed that.
And our guest that is about to join us in about 2 minutes had an audition to actually become the host of the Wheel of Fortune and got passed up for one Pat Sajak.
That's crazy. So, 1975 was the first time, January of 1975.
Yes.
Wheel of Fortune. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Learn
All
something.
right. Now, Heath, this was a huge deal back in 1976. Can you tell me what happened in the city of Atlanta?
In 76. Oh, geez, man. I'm like a year old. A year and almost a month. I'm almost 13 months old. Um, I don't know. They had a parade for Hank Aaron because he was cool. I have no idea.
Ted Turner buys the Atlanta Braves for a whopping $12 million.
Wow. Dude, there are so many stories I can go to. I've read Ted's book. I had to study Ted a lot in college. Thanks to Ted, we have reruns. If it wasn't for Ted Turner, we wouldn't have reruns.
Right?
Ted Turner basically invented reruns, the concept of it. But, Stephen, the quick backstory to this, the Braves were the lowest attended team in baseball, and he wanted to put them on air. And rumor was he was making so much money off the Braves games and selling commercials
Right.
that the Braves were like, "We're not going to do this." And he's like, "How much do you want?" And the Braves were not worth 12 million at the time, but he paid for it, and everyone made fun of him because he overpaid for the Atlanta Braves. And he left all the way to the bank for many decades after that.
Heath, we're going to finish up with two incredible topics. One is a song, and the other one is a movie. Heath, can you tell me what famous song in 1979 became this band's only number one single, and when it peaked, it sold over 150,000 copies per day?
In 1979,
And I'll give you a hint. I will do the first part of it, and you hopefully can do the next part.
hit
It's
me.
fun to stay at the.
YMCA,
Yes, sir. Yes,
the
sir.
Village People.
Today, it started, became the number one single, and at its peak, it sold over 150,000 copies per day.
Man, I'd love to see the royalty checks to that back in the
I
day.
know. I know.
Wow. Wow. And we've been hearing it still today. Hey, we promise you we're never going to talk about politics, but one politician likes to dance to that song. We'll leave it at that.
All right, and finally, Heath, when we move to 2016, can you tell me what movie on January the 6th broke an all time box office record, passing Avatar, and its final earnings was $936 million?
What year?
2016.
Oh, geez, Stephen. Um,
This
what big movie came out?
shattered the box office record.
Was it one of the Star Wars movies?
Star Wars The Force Awakens had a total of $936.7 million, passing Avatar, which made $760 million.
Dude, my kids were asking me about Avatar the other day. They said, Dad, you saw it, right? I was like, I kept falling asleep during that movie. Like, I've tried to watch that movie like more than a dozen times,
Right.
and I always fall asleep. Always falls. I still don't know what's really going on.
So, Heath, that's going to wrap up the national birthdays today, the national history of today, and some fun talk. Now, let's get into the nuts and bolts of talking about college football and the college football playoff semifinals.
Well, I'm completely ready for that. I'm kind of getting sad, Steven, because we're getting to the end of college football.
Yeah.
So I'm getting a little bummed, but at the same time, we're like 41 days away from college baseball. I can't remember the exact, but
Yes.
it's like 45 days, 42. I can't remember. 40 something days away till we get college baseball. But yeah,
Right.
I'm kind of ready.
Heath, we are going to run our commercial for our official show sponsor, and then I will be back to introduce our guest and run the open right after this.
Bring it on.
Ladies and gentlemen, Bill Ferguson of South's Finest Meats, the official sponsor of the Stingray Show, has a message for you.
Everything we do here is fresh and custom made, custom to order. I tell people when they come in, if you don't see what you like, ask somebody. We've got the capability to process it, make it. If you want a different blend of hamburger meat, we'll do your brisket blend. We'll do your chuck blend. We'll do your sirloin blend. We do all that right here. We are a butcher shop. It's what we do. So please don't be afraid to ask if you don't see what you like. We can make you any size patty you want. We can make you any amount you want. People call me and say, well, how many patties come in the box? Well, ma'am, how many would you like in a box? You want 12, we'll put 12. You want 25, we'll put 25.
That's just one of the many things that South's Finest Meats has to offer, the official butcher shop of the Stingray Show. And then there were 4. We started out with 12 teams. We are down to the semifinals and 4 teams remaining. We have Indiana and Oregon in one semifinal. We have Miami and Ole Miss in the other one. We're going to do a deep dive into both of those matchups and college football as a whole, as we're about to be joined by Fox Sports analyst and college football analyst legend Tim Brando is going to join us right after this open, right here on this edition of the Stingray Show. And hey, you're actually going to hear him right now introduce the Stingray Show. So take it away, Timmy B.
Hi, this is Tim Brando with a reminder. Look out, you're about to feel the buzz of Stingray.
This is Stephen Ray, aka Stingray, coming to you live from Tuscaloosa, Alabama.
I'm Heath Hopkins. I'm here in DeSoto County, Mississippi, right outside of Memphis, Tennessee.
Mark, I'm going to put you on the spot. Do you feel that responsibility to pay it forward and give some kid a chance coming up in the ranks, kind of like Tony did for you?
Why do you think I'm talking to Stingray tonight?
Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
No, I mean, look, no.
Heath, Stingray, Here's the deal. When you get involved with Texas, it's like getting married to a stripper. and let me explain this. It looks good. It's kind of sexy on the surface. Yeah. But then you get the baggage, you get the drama, you get all that eventually comes with it. And that's what you get with Texas, and that's what the Big 12 learned.
And Heath, any thoughts on our show moving forward?
Hey, with the Stingray Show, if you don't like it, you better learn to love it, because it's the best show going today, baby. Woo!
All right, Heath. How are you doing, man? Now let's get into the nuts and bolts of talking about the college football playoffs. And what we're going to do is we're about to be joined by Tim Brando, a.k.a. Timmy B., who is famous for his lines of flies in the ointment. And nowadays, the iron is unkind, as he is currently on the basketball tour throughout the Big East for Fox Sports. Ladies and gentlemen, please help us welcome back to the Stingray Show, for another year, Mr. Tim Brando, aka Timmy B. Tim, how are things with you at Chateau Brando?
They are wonderful and great to be with both of you. Heath, you shouldn't have to wait for 41 or 42 days for baseball. College basketball is better now than it's ever been, man. You've missed, I've already seen Michigan, Duke, Michigan State. Villanova's really good. I'm pleased to report that I had a hell of a game, an upset with Providence beating St. John's the other day in Madison Square Garden.
Yeah.
And I'm moving over to the Big Ten and the Big 12 this year as well. Got trips to Fog Allen coming up to see the Jayhawks and Houston. I get to see the Cougars now of Kelvin Sampson. They're a top 10 team. So I would invite all of the helmet heads that just have always skipped over basketball to start watching college basketball this year because it is, if you think the portal affected college football in a very positive way, and I certainly believe it did, then basketball, same story. Now, there's a little more griping and a little more gnashing of teeth among the coaches because, as you know, with the portal, one or two players in basketball can be the difference in, going deep into the tournament. I mean, it's just a numbers thing, but I mean the competitive advantages of the so-called blue bloods in football. I think it's pretty obvious they're gone, and in basketball they've been gone for a while, and it's even more balanced now than it's ever been. So this Saturday, I get to see St. John's again. We go to Creighton in Omaha, which is a great home environment for college basketball. And that is a 1 o'clock game Central on Fox. So if you get a chance to check it out. These Thursday, Friday games coming up this week are further proof of how screwed up the college football playoff is for having it last as long as it does.
Right.
The championship game would be played so deep into January that the NFL wildcard playoffs are going to be going on, so they can't play on the weekend. I mean, so don't get me started on that. But with all of the complaining and gnashing of teeth about what's been happening in football of late, I think we can all agree that once we got to 8 teams, it's been awesome. It's been absolutely awesome. Any one of those 8 teams, I think their fan bases at least thought they had chances. I tried to tell the Alabama people, you've got no shot. They wouldn't listen, so they're frustrated now. But the reality is Indiana's that damn good. For anybody to think, whether it's in Alabama or anyplace else, that Indiana did not play anybody, therefore they're not very good, and this stage is different. I mean, my God. I mean, just how stupid do you want to look nationally by thinking that Indiana is not all that at this stage? That sort of blew me away. So these same cats that thought that Kalen DeBoer was suddenly their savior after a comeback against Oklahoma, which was pretty much gift wrapped in the second half. I don't think Alabama earned all of that comeback. I think Oklahoma gave it to them in a lot of ways, which, by the way, Alabama sort of did the same thing in the regular season in the loss to Oklahoma. It happens in college football. But I think that these 2 games coming up on Thursday and Friday, I'm happy because I'm leaving here Friday morning. I'll get to Omaha in plenty of time to have dinner and watch the game Friday night. And Thursday, obviously, the game being as quick as it is for the folks from Oxford against, I think a Miami team that is the perfect contrast to them.
Right.
We got a lot of breaking down to do with these matchups for sure, because I can't think of better matchups in terms of football strategy than these two will be, because we got some teams that are polar opposites of one another in Miami and Ole Miss. And then when you look at the other game, a rematch from 2 teams that I think probably feel like, we've not played our best, at least against each other. Oregon, I had them after they lost that game, the week after they lost that game, I had them against Wisconsin, and they were still shaking their heads about what had happened. But the evolution of the teams being what they are, Indiana's continued to get better. I mean, they just continue to get better and better. And I said before the playoffs started that I thought the winner of the Indiana-Oregon game, if that game happened, or the Indiana-Texas Tech game. I was a little surprised Texas Tech laid an egg offensively because that team looked nothing like what I'd seen before.
Right.
I thought Texas Tech would be playing Indiana instead of Oregon.
Yeah, I did too.
Their defense was so good, but their offense, it was obvious that the stage for those kids, and particularly Baron Morton, the quarterback, was just too big. They they were nervous. It was clear to me that they never got comfortable in that game. Oregon's been in a lot more big game environments in their history. So I think for Texas Tech, it was just a stumbling block that can happen, but their defense certainly proved how good they were. I mean, no doubt about that.
Hmm.
But I thought that the winner of the Indiana game in the semifinal would win the national title. I still believe that. Still believe Indiana is going to win it. But Ole Miss, man, what a story. They are America's darling.
Yep.
I think anybody that feels outside of the state of Ole Miss, do you have some support? There's no question. That
Yes.
team's got more support now than any other team in college football for a variety of reasons, but not the least of which is Lane Kiffin, who continues to make an ass of himself
Yes.
with each passing day. From a public relations standpoint, he is fighting a real uphill battle. If you want to say roll tide, you can say this: if the tide is still rolling somewhere in the state of Alabama, it's rolling against Lane, who's trying to swim back to the shore. Okay,
Right.
he's not rolling with it; he's going up against it, big
Right.
time. I mean, I've never seen a guy fall from grace the way he has yet again. Um, Similar to what happened to him in the aftermath of Tennessee,
Right.
when he left there for USC.
Hmm.
Very, very similar. And he's done it to himself. I like Lane. I do. I've always liked Lane. I used to blame it some on youth for him, but I always thought he was, at his core, a pretty good guy. But, ESPN created a monster when they did that documentary that made it all about him and his resuscitation of his personal life. And, he just blew that up,
Yeah.
Yeah, let me ask you this. And I talked to Tom Lugabill. He was on the show yesterday, and we asked Tom this as well. I find it so incredibly over the top hypocritical that Lane cried and said, I should be able to coach this team in the playoff, although I've taken the LSU job. I should be coaching this team. And now, over the weekend, he's telling his assistants that are joining him, you're under contract with LSU. You're no longer allowed to coach at Ole Miss. It's time for you to come to Baton Rouge and get to work. And I'm like,
Mhm.
wait a second. A week and a half ago, you were crying that you weren't coaching this team.
Well, yeah.
And these guys are able to coach the team. And now
Yeah.
you're saying, no, you can't do that.
And
What-
then when they won, he tweeted out, "Way to go, guys!
Yeah.
Two
Oh,
games
yeah.
left."
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
way to go, guys.
It's,
2 more games left. By the way, you have to come work for me now.
yeah.
What the Sam
There,
Hill
there,
is going
yeah.
on?
Well,
What's that?
there are times when being on social media is advisable, and there
Yeah.
are times when it's not. And he certainly violated that,
Yeah.
both during the game and after the game. Um, in the end, the coaches, the coaches' creed, the way I remember it, is that you're there to make the players better, to give the players their best chance to succeed on the field and off. And from the moment he made the choices that he made in dealing with all this, he never thought about the players. He was thinking about himself.
Yeah.
And then when the coaches, he's told basically get on the plane or you're not gonna coach for me. So they get on the plane. To the extent to which I'll give some check marks, I'll give a lot of check marks to Charlie Weiss for saying, no, I'm gonna coach this team. I'm gonna be in the ear of my quarterback, and I'm gonna call these plays. But at the same time, to have him going back and forth on private planes between Baton Rouge and Oxford because of the portal concerns and recruiting and that kind of thing, I mean, that is a crock of blank, just a
Yeah.
crock of absolute excrement. He should have been allowed to stay in Oxford all week long. You got to get a game plan. You got to install that game plan. People are talking about Thursday night as though, well, who's all going to be there Thursday night? Well, what matters is who was there on Monday, Tuesday,
Right.
Wednesday, because you've got to get the game plan in. You got to install and then start practicing and executing what you've installed. So, by the time you get to Thursday, I know this from a play-by-play standpoint, my hay is in the barn. My preparation is done.
Right.
It's just time to have fun and go call the game. Well, the same is true for offensive and defensive coordinators. Those guys' booths are usually right next door to ours when we're calling the game. So, it's not uncommon for the broadcasters to run into the coordinators in the bathroom at halftime or or just in the hallways of
Right.
a press box during the course of a game. And we've shared conversation pieces many, many times throughout the years. But I credit Weiss for doing the right thing. The pressure that's been put on some of the other position coaches, may be a little bit different, and maybe they don't have quite the power. I don't honestly, if I were Charlie, I would say the hell with you, Lane. But I know they've already hired their new OC. He's been, the plan was in play for Ole Miss from the jump that they
Right.
were going to have the next guys that were going to take over shadowing, the current staff that was working with this team this year. So I know he's going to be replaced. But if I were Weiss, I'd certainly be rethinking who the hell I'm working for,
Before we get to
because
Stevens,
I think it's really been pitifully handled by Kiffin. And by the way, I say this with the understanding I live in Louisiana, but this just into my LSU friends. I've got many of them. If you think for 1 minute your hatred for Nick Saban after he vacated for Wayne Huizenga in Miami and then he reemerged at Alabama, if you think your hatred was over the top when he came to Tuscaloosa in 2007, how about shooting yourself up with steroids because everybody else is looking at you, LSU, in the same vein as Alabama and Nick Saban, only worse because
Yeah.
of how this has been handled. There's no getting around it. He's going to be the most hated coach in college football. They will be the team that most fans that don't have a dog in the hunt, if they tune into an LSU game and they don't have any money on it for LSU, they're rooting against them every game.
Yep.
Every game.
Yep.
Just mark it down. I mean, it is what it
Amen.
is. You
Amen.
sold your soul. You sold your soul to get this guy, and I think it's a I mean, he may be very successful. Like I said, I like Lane. I do. But they're going to have to go a long way to win back a lot of fans around the country
Yeah.
that looked upon LSU in a very favorable way in the past. They are the new Alabama. They will be the new hated Alabama because Alabama now is a little bit of an afterthought. I mean, they're not very good. They aren't what they have been. Saban is gone.
Right.
And, I think Alabama fans need to understand that they now are becoming the story because they obviously did not know a lot about what was going on in college football around the country when they thought that they were going to go into the Rose Bowl and kick Indiana's ass. And they did. They thought that. Well, they got a big wake up call. And I'm not surprised by that, but it pains me to have to say that about the state university where I'm from. But I'm telling you, there is that's a bridge too far. LSU will not be able to convert fans. Now they can convert players. I'm sure they can go buy them up left and right and bring them in, and they may win, 4 or 5 national titles like Saban did, which I'm sure is what Lane figures to do. I think he believes that's why he left. He thinks he can do at LSU what Saban did at Alabama. But Nick was smart. He got out when he knew the portal NIL era was getting underway, and no one's going to dominate college football like Alabama did. Not in this era. Not going to happen.
Nope.
Tim, before we get to Stephen's question, Tom Luganville said this, and I want to get your thoughts on it. He said Lane Kiffin is panicking. He is just flipping out and wigging out because he wanted to win a national title, and he thought he had to go to LSU, and now it looks like Ole Miss is going to do it without him. And on top of that, he's starting to lose some of these players that he thought were going to get in the transfer portal, Kewan Lacey, Trinidad Chambliss, if he gets another year. And they've already signed deals with Ole Miss again. And now Charlie Weiss is getting some NFL love. And I made the joke on the show when Lane Kiffin got hired at LSU. I was like, he'll probably be head coach there for a month, and he'll probably get hired by the Giants, and him and Jackson Dart will get to reunite, and LSU fans don't know what to do. But
Yeah.
With all of that, what Tom Luganville said, do you think Kiffin is panicking and freaking out a little bit because they're winning without him, and now it doesn't look like he's going to get some of the players from Ole Miss and might get his OC?
Heath, it's pretty clear that he didn't think they'd beat Georgia.
No.
Yeah.
Because he clearly felt that he could look good by letting the coaches coach that first week. The problem became when they won the game and now they had to coach this week. Okay.
Yeah.
And they could use the portal date as the issue. That's the crazy part. They moved the portal date from December to January last year. You know who was fighting the most for the portal date to change? Among all the coaches? Lane Kiffin.
Yeah.
Lane Kiffin wanted that date moved from December to January as much as anybody. Now, there were a few other coaches that were the same way. So he's screaming about, well, when he was leaving, he said, it's the calendar. And Saban was helping him with that public relations, by the way. As much as I respect Nick, I don't trust him a damn bit when it comes to his philosophies on major issues with college football when he's trying to take the heat off the coaches and put it on the sport itself. Okay. Because Nick is a front runner when it comes to that. Nick was always going to take care of Nick. Okay. When it came to the coaching fraternity, and he's doing the same thing here. The date is screwed up. Yes. But there were coaches that fought for the date to change. And Lane was he was first in line with that. So he could make these statements about, well, it's not, I'd really love to stay here, but this is a job that's just too big. I got to go. It's not, remember that line on game day? It's not a Lane Kiffin conundrum. It's a college football calendar conundrum. Remember that?
Yep.
No, please, that was as disingenuous a statement as Nick Saban could have possibly made. But he made it because Lane's his boy, right? And he's Lane has said he's subbing for his dad Monty, playing the violin of his lost father that he can't call. I mean, it's also very disingenuous.
Right.
I mean, the bottom line here is I thought coaching was about helping your team, helping your players, helping them be the best that they can possibly be. And this violates all of that. Okay. If he really cared about Ole Miss and the players he left behind, he would have told the staff members that were coming with him. You tell me that Lane and and half of that staff can't handle the portal situation. Really, that Charlie's got to come back because they're trying to recruit a certain player and he needs Charlie during this week. That's garbage. That's absolute garbage. He was undermining the very people that he said he so wanted to succeed and was so happy for in the aftermath of the Georgia game. There is nothing above board about what Kiffin has done since he's come to Baton Rouge. It's all been underhanded. It's all been, in my view, a part of the plan that he was going to do what was best for himself, and yet to some extent LSU, yeah, without a doubt. And listen, those people in South Louisiana are going nuts. They think they've cracked the code and they're going to win, multiple national titles. They're no different than the Alabama people right now, thinking that they are just that much better than everybody else. And I think they're going to get a rude awakening. I do.
Tim, I do have to ask you, yes, we are an SEC show, but there are some things in the SEC that goes on that I don't necessarily like, and there's a lot of people also that don't like it. How crazy is it that the SEC had to bolster? We got to get 5 teams in the playoffs. 5 teams.
Well, they
The
really wanted
Brando,
6. I think the commissioner said 7, didn't he?
right,
Didn't the
yeah.
commissioner say?
Yeah. The brands are gone.
Yeah.
And the national championship from the SEC, they have not won in 2 years, and they're possibly going to lose another one if not for Ole Miss.
Can
Give
you
us your
believe
thoughts on that.
can you believe that they're having to hang their hat right now on Ole Miss? Okay. That's the team that probably the SEC has taken the least care of
Right.
over the years. Okay.
Amen.
I mean, it's been an Alabama centric conference since, I was born, since Bear Bryant built what he built. It's been an Alabama centric conference. And I joke about this all the time, and a lot of historians. And again, I've got a lot of friends, tons of friends in Alabama.
Right.
Okay, tons of friends. They're not all lunatic fringe Feinbaum callers in Alabama. There's a lot of really good people there, and they know what I'm talking about. Bear Bryant would literally get on the phone, and he would call Mickey Holmes at the Sugar Bowl office, and he'd tell Mickey, Mickey, now here's what we're gonna do. We got a 3-team parlay. We got of course, we're gonna come to you. Georgia looks pretty good, so Georgia is gonna go down to the Gator Bowl, and we're gonna get LSU. He take care of Coach Mack. We're gonna get LSU into that Tangerine Bowl. You know, McClendon coached for him, so after he beat him, he would make sure he got a good bowl. We're gonna get McClendon and LSU down to that new bowl down there, the Tangerine. And somebody say, Mickey would come back and say, "Well, Coach, what about Auburn? Blank Auburn." So I mean, he was going to keep Auburn out if he possibly could at any cost. Those are all true stories. Now I'm telling
Right.
you, I've going back years and years and years, and regardless of who the commissioner was, and regardless who the leadership was, when it came to basketball, it was Kentucky centric, and when it came to football, it was Alabama centric. I
Yes.
mean, it just was. Now it was a smaller league back then. You know, we didn't have the variety of teams and the geographical map that we have now, but it's always been that way. And you know, there's an old saying about history: the names change, but the stories remain the same.
Right.
When the state of Alabama and the city of Birmingham gave them that beautiful building for a penny a month rent, okay, that they secured the fact that Alabama is still the centerpiece of the conference, and that's just the way it is. Now, you notice that with Saban gone, they shift their gears, and every opportunity that Georgia gets now that they can help them, Georgia is now that team.
Yeah.
Kirby Smart is now the new Nick Saban. Now, listen, I think Kirby's one of the best coaches in the country. If not number one, he's certainly number two, okay, in college football today. I would argue there are some really great coaches in college football today, a lot of great coaches.
Yeah.
Certainly no one that is more decorated than Kirby. So if you were going to say most successful, you'd have to say it's Kirby Smart at this stage among active coaches. I thought the way he handled the loss to Ole Miss tells you a lot about him. So I'm a Kirby fan, no doubt about it. But again, it's just they're a brand, and so everything shifts to that brand.
Right.
And that's really the way college football has been handled for a long time. And you know, in the Big Ten, they're having to learn fast. And you notice that, yeah, Ohio State is the Alabama of the North. Yeah, it is. But Indiana has quickly now disposed of that shadow cast of Ohio State
Yeah.
because of what Kurt Signetti, has done. Um, the there's not going to be a team that dominates the way Saban did ever again in
No.
college football. We're not going back in time. The ship's not going to suddenly come back in. Um, do we regulate it? Yes. Do we maybe create some guardrails and make some major changes? And by the way, when Saban talks about the calendar being the problem, absolutely it is. I agree with Nick wholeheartedly on just about every issue he discusses, except coaching issues. Okay. When it comes to coaching issues, he has got Jimmy Sexton within. It's all about him. It's all about them and them building, the successful pyramid that he had. And I don't buy it. I find it to be disingenuous. But when he's talking about the issues of the calendar, didn't I tell you guys we needed to start college football week 0, the second week of August? Instead of playing those games on August 24th, we need to play them August the 10th.
Yes.
If we were doing that, and then we got rid of the buys and we go to 16, the championship games can stay alive if you want. If you want to keep the conference championships within it, because they're making you too much money, that's fine. You can still do that if you want. It can be part of the elimination process.
Right.
But we don't need just conference title games to be played that first week in December. We need elimination games being played all across the country. All right. And we could easily go to 24 easily go to 24 if we were having teams within the conferences play for the right to get in the tournament field of 16. We could do it in the Big 10, the Big 12, the SEC, uh, and without question, the ACC. And by the way, what Miami has done, and I think we haven't really dug into the Miami Ole Miss matchup. We need to do that. But what Miami has done is now given some credibility to the Atlantic Coast Conference
Oh yeah.
by beating Ohio State the way they did and having a great chance. The U is back.
Yes.
So I think that we need to fix the calendar first and foremost. And bowl games, the bowl games that are not part of the CFP need to start the season. We can put the teams that earn the right to be invited to bowl games in cities like mine, Boise, Idaho, Birmingham, Alabama, Mobile, Alabama. We could put them in opening games to start the season when everybody's anticipating the start of college football. Everyone would be excited. You wouldn't have a team that's coming in with a 6-6 record or a 5-7 record, and the game just being a glorified exhibition for people to bet on during the holidays, which is all the thing is now. That's what we need to do to fix the calendar, and I think it would go a long way in fixing college football.
Tim, I'm so glad you said that because I've made mention several times with some of our guests here recently. Why don't we put these bowl games at the beginning of the season?
Yeah,
and let it go to NIL, and you can build it like that, and everyone would be excited.
And the communities would be excited. The communities that house the bowl games would be excited. I guarantee you, a town like Shreveport, Louisiana, would be stoked to have a game involving two teams that had successful years the year before, and that could be the kickoff to the start of the season. It really would resonate around the country. Week 0 now is sort of an afterthought with about 2 or 3 games that matter on it. Let's use it and let's move it back. And people say, well, it's too hot down here. People can come up with all kinds of reasons for can't. If it's too hot, then have your team in the South play a road game. Okay, go up to West Virginia or go up to Minnesota and play your game, or we can play in a dome stadium, which most of these major matchups that ESPN carries in Atlanta or Orlando or Jerry World, those games are underwritten by the bowls already. Okay, right. So let's just have all the bowls underwrite these games, and let's have everyone in college football busy that week, and that way we get the party started, and we can finish it at or around New Year's Day, and we don't have ESPN subleasing games to Turner because they don't want their ratings to falter against NFL games, and we don't have to put championship and semifinal games on a work night Thursday and Friday when people are going to be less likely to watch solely because you can't go up against the playoffs of the NFL. I mean, look at this, folks. Just a little bit of business acumen should tell you how effed up college football is from a television standpoint.
Yes.
I'm looking at going with what you said. I'm thinking of a first week matchup, and what came to mind was Baylor and Auburn. And you had
good game.
And you had Sawyer Robertson, the former Mike Leach understudy at Mississippi State.
Right.
He's starting quarterback at Baylor. You had Jackson Arnold coming in at Auburn. There's a lot of hype between those two guys. If that game was played at the Liberty Bowl in Memphis, Tennessee, there would be a packed house because everyone's excited about football.
Yeah.
So I do believe that we should play these bowl games at the beginning of the season. The money should go into the NIL pot. And I'm okay if they wanted to do the SEC was like, hey, we're going to throw all this NIL money in one big pot and we're going to split it for all the schools. I'm okay if they want to do that as well.
Yeah.
There's so many things we can do with this.
Yeah.
But you touched on something that I really liked, and Tom Luganville said the same thing that you just said. Let's just start the season 2 weeks earlier.
Yeah.
Let's do away with a bye week, and we can do all this. And I love the thought of conference elimination games. I've been screaming that for years.
Yeah.
Even
that's what Tony Petitti of the Big Ten has been talking about.
Yeah.
That's what he's been talking about. Yeah. And I realize that a lot of the writers don't like Tony because he's not as accessible to them as Greg Sankey is. Greg will throw a press conference in the parking lot of a Target if he wants. But Petitti's one of these guys that, he's a television executive in his past, and he doesn't want to announce anything until he's got it set. He's a visionary that wants to put something in play, but he doesn't want to speculate about it. He wants
Right.
to announce it. Okay. And that's just the way he's always operated. But I mean, bottom line is these two guys who do have controlling interest contractually in the college football playoff. That's a done deal. They need to come together and say, all right, for the betterment of the game, let's do this. Okay. And if this so-called college football council is who's going to govern and implement some of the rules, let's do that. All I'm hearing from people now is congressional help, congressional help, congressional help. And that's
Yeah.
coming up because of, well, no, because it's not going to pass. Yes. But the reason they're saying congressional help, Stephen, is because they need a collective bargaining agreement of some sort. They need a CBA. And in order to get that, they need congressional help. Otherwise, they go to court and they don't want to go to court.
Right.
That's the dilemma. That's the dilemma where we are at this stage. I just think because the money that's being made out there is pretty phenomenal for these players. And the schools that are setting themselves up to be successful now are able to spend whatever they want to spend.
Mm-hmm.
I think the conference commissioners now should be able to look at this and say, hey, if we're going to put these regulations in play, they got to play ball with us too. Let's
Yeah.
not be fearful. Let's not be worried about lawsuits. Let's just be strong and be leaders. Okay. I think
Mm-hmm.
everybody's been too tentative about, well, if you do that, they're listening to their lawyers way too much. They're listening to their lawyers way too much. Just you're the big dogs, act like it, and start saying, okay, we're going to open it up. We're going to start it earlier. We're going to go to 16. Or hell, if they said 24 to me right now, I'd take it.
Absolutely.
If they said 24 to me now, I'd take it. I think last year when it leaked out and Petiti was not happy when it did leak out, it sounded a little bit alarming to people when he said 24 and it got out. And he wasn't happy about that. And that's
Right.
one of the reasons why. That's one of the reasons why the writers like, Dellinger and the guys that I also respect, like Brett McMurphy. That's why they're so upset with Petiti, is because he doesn't want to talk to them. But
Right.
the reason is he feels like people have leaked information to them and they've gone with it. I really think that many of his ideas are about teams earning bids as opposed to a cockamamie committee that's already proved that they are, shall we say, less than honorable. Okay, are going to do whatever the hell they want to do to get the brand names in. Okay, it's pretty clear to me that Alabama, despite what everybody wants to say about their win against Oklahoma, had no business being in this college football playoff.
No.
Okay, that was what happened in the second half in Oklahoma was a mirage, which for a week gave the committee a little bit of a little bit of reason to maybe poke their chests out. But they were never going to handle Indiana the same way. And anybody that thought that, I don't know what you've been watching all year. You can't tell me that Notre Dame and Texas, for that matter, even though Texas had the same number of losses, wasn't evolving and playing a better brand of football than Alabama was
Right.
at the end of the year. They were. They clearly were. So I'm tired of committee members selecting teams. I want to see teams earn their bids in. And if we have this elimination that the Big Ten commissioner's talking about, then that's what we'd see. And more competitive games on more networks at the end of the regular season is a great thing.
Mm-hmm.
But college football's postseason is never going to be right until we get more than one network entity involved in the playoff.
I agree.
And I'm sorry, we gotta remove the veil of impropriety. Is ESPN the total problem? No, they're not at all. They're not making all the decisions. Okay, but there's no way you can look at the way this thing has been governed over the last two seasons in the selection process and not say that special interests, okay, haven't been taken care of. As you were mentioning, Stephen, with got to get 5 in. Well, maybe 6. How about 7?
Yeah.
Enough with that. I mean,
Yeah.
enough with that. There's way too many other good teams out there, and it's been proven. Look at the 4 that we've got left right now, just as you said.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of the 4, let's begin Thursday night, January the 8th, out in the Fiesta Bowl. It is Miami, who Mario Cristobal has resurrected. They are trying to go for their first national championship since 2001, going up against the darlings of Ole Miss. Both teams come into this game red hot. Miami with that incredible defense going up against the offense for Ole Miss. Tim, break this game down for us, Miami and Ole Miss, and Miami currently holds a 3-point favorite in Vegas.
Yeah, and understandably so. In this vein, they are the more physical team.
Yeah,
They are, without a doubt, from a defensive standpoint, the toughest team that is remaining, in my view, besides Indiana.
right.
Indiana's in a league of its own. The way they play defense, my God, they're unbelievable. And we'll get to them in a minute. But
Yes.
Miami is an incredibly physical football team. And the thing that they have that they're going to have a problem with Ole Miss is they have not played a team like the Rebels. They haven't. And pass rush is not an issue with Trinidad Chambliss getting the ball out as fast as he gets it out. I mean, Ole Miss is basketball on grass. As much as we say about Lane Kiffin's actions being reprehensible, there's no denying that his offense is as dynamic as it's ever been. You know, he is the Spurrier of his generation in terms of changing the way the game is played. And that's another reason why I think Charlie Weiss should go someplace else, or maybe should have stayed at Ole Miss. He got more out of that game with Georgia than he ever got as an offensive coordinator for Lane, who got all the credit all the time.
Yes.
But it is Lane's offense, and we have to give him credit for that. It's just dynamic as hell, and the quickness and the speed of the receivers outside stribbling, on one side, and then you look at a guy like Keywan Lacey who can catch passes out of the backfield, or at the same time, if you're not using him as a receiver coming out of the backfield, he'll gouge you between the tackles. And he proved a level of toughness with that bad shoulder to take some of the hits that he took from Georgia. That's the other thing. I think having beaten Georgia the way Ole Miss did, and they had to be tough to win it. They didn't play well. In fact, I thought they controlled the first half and yet were behind because of mistakes. Okay. Yeah. And then they came from behind, got the lead, but Georgia responded, and then they had to react to that. And their toughness allowed them to do that. And then when under duress, Trinidad made play after play after play. If I were the Miami coaches, I'd go back and look at what Cam Ward used to do for them, because he's the closest thing to what Trinidad is. Okay. Cam couldn't get Miami to the playoff last year, but he was oh so close.
Right.
But Trinidad Chambliss is right now, he's the best player in college football.
Thank you.
He is. Keywan Lacey is the most underrated running back in college football. But Trinidad Chambliss right now is the best player in college football. And that's because he affects the game in so many ways. Fernando Mendoza deserved the Heisman. He got my vote. He definitely got my vote. He deserved the Heisman Trophy. And out of the pro-style approach of offense, there's no doubt in my mind he's the number one pick in the NFL draft. He is. Right. But Chambliss is right now affecting the game more than any other player on any one team.
I agree with that.
So I think that this is a game that Ole Miss, in my mind, should win because they have so many variables that no team in the ACC or no team that Miami played non-conference had and affected them. So as good as Cristobal's team has been, and I think they've turned a lot of heads. And well, I think when the playoffs started, I thought they could beat Ohio State. I did. I did not know. I certainly felt that they'd win the first game, and then Ohio State was a team I thought they could beat. I would have said to you, had Georgia played in this game, I would have taken Miami. Okay. From a matchup standpoint, I thought Miami matched up better with Georgia, largely because Georgia does run a more pro-style approach,
Right.
and Gunnar Stockton has to make the kind of plays that most drop-back passers make. But by the way, Gunnar Stockton was, runner-up to an MVP as much as a runner-up to an MVP could be in a playoff game. My God, what a performance that kid had. And he had to have that kind of performance in order for Georgia to have a chance to win the football game. But I think Miami could have dealt with Georgia more easily than Ole Miss. I think Ole Miss is just too quick. And the thing that they're going to have to do is be measured and be smart, as they were against Georgia. There are going to be times when they need to slow their offense down because they need to give their defense a breather. Miami wins this game if Ole Miss's offense struggles some and has some 3-and-outs,
Right.
whether it's early first half or early second half. That's what happened in the Georgia game the first time. When Ole Miss stuttered and sputtered in the third quarter, late third quarter, early fourth, that defense was on the field the entire fourth quarter, and they got gassed.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's the same thing that they have to monitor in the game with Miami. They got to be very, very mindful of that. But I'm going to pick Ole Miss to win the football game.
Real quick, Stephen, I'm going to squeeze this in because we're talking about Trinidad Chambliss there for a second. I was talking to Tom Luganville yesterday here on the show, and I said, Tom, I didn't realize it until the game the other night. I always thought Trinidad Chambliss was a plus. I always thought he fit perfectly with Ole Miss and filled in. I was like, but until the game the other night, they're winning because of Trinidad Chambliss. And Tom agreed. He goes, yeah, they're not winning with him. They're winning because of him.
Right.
And you just kind of said it there, and I'm glad that you said it because I don't think this kid's getting any credit.
It's because he went to Ferris State. It's because he went to Ferris State. The major media is late on guys like him because guys like him aren't supposed to be all that. Okay.
Yes.
They're not a 4-star, not a 5-star, not an any star. Okay. Not an any star. And that's the way the media controls the mindset of people. And the young folks that are coming out with, and that was a whole, that was the whole thing with Alabama and Indiana. Well, they don't have as many 4-stars and 5-stars as us. Well, guess what? Those 3-stars and 2-stars have developed, and they just kick your ass.
Yes.
Okay, they kicked your ass, and we get caught up in that today in college football. Okay, and to some extent, by the way, Luganville's responsible for all that. That back work that he's done in terms of recruiting, right? He's given people way too much information, and everybody sees 4-stars or 5-stars, and they think, well, this guy clearly is going to dominate that. No, that's not always true.
Right.
Ole Miss had better players than they've ever had, yes, but they don't have as many as Georgia or as many as Alabama. But look where they are; they're still standing. Those two aren't.
Right.
So. I mean, it can't all be just about that. There are players that still fall through the cracks. Trinidad Chambliss was clearly one of them. Cam Ward was another. They've now made a Netflix documentary about how Cam Ward came from nowhere. Well, Trinidad did the same thing without question. He is this year's version of Cam Ward. I'll be very, very interested in the way the game plays out, how Mario Cristobal handles down and distance situations and when to go and when not to go on fourth down, because I know he's going to feel like he's got a huge advantage against the Ole Miss defense, okay? Because who's really special, really, really special on the Ole Miss defense? You very rarely hear any one name or 2 or 3 names mentioned. But I thought as a team, and especially their secondary, played out of their minds late against Georgia to break up some passes and to make it as hard on Gunnar Stockton as possible, which, by the way, he was hot. I mean, against any other quarterback on the planet, Gunnar Stockton's going to win that game the way he was playing. That was by far his best performance. I mean, in my mind, the best by far that I've ever seen him have. And he's had some good performances in the past. So if Ole Miss winds up tired late, even with a lead, Miami can bully them. If they're within 1 score early fourth quarter and Miami wants to bully Ole Miss, and Ole Miss is not going to keep the football away from them, that's the only way, in my mind, Miami wins the game. Uh, it's very similar to. It's really good that that Georgia was the opponent for Ole Miss the week before they played Miami, because I think they're as similar. Uh, that's as close to a Miami kind of team as you'd find in the SEC. Uh, and I think from a game planning standpoint, I think Ole Miss is in pretty good shape in terms of what they have to do, what their points of emphasis needs to be. Uh, they were, if you think about the Georgia game now, fellas, if they played the first half and didn't screw up the end of the half, and if they had, not turned the ball over, I mean, um, they were a little sloppy in that first half, and were down by 9 as a result. And then you saw what happened in the second half. They played clean. They
Yeah.
took the game over and wound up winning it. They can still play a much better game for 60 minutes than the one they played against the Bulldogs. It's going to take that to beat Miami, but I think they can do it.
Tim, let's go to the other semifinal, and this is just my personal opinion. Ever since the playoffs began, there is one team that nobody is talking about, and that is Dan Lanning and the Oregon
Mm-hmm.
Ducks. They are now an afterthought. You
Yeah.
have got to think that they are using that as huge
Oh,
motivation.
yeah. Yeah.
How do you
Yeah.
see that rematch going in Atlanta
Yeah.
between Oregon and Indiana?
Well, by the way, that's the guy that I would say Signetti right now, in my opinion, is coaching better than anybody else. I
Yes.
think he's the hottest name in coaching. Still hasn't won a national championship, but he's the hottest name because of what he's done, and understandably so. A turnaround like this with
Right.
players from a Division One AA or FCS program like James Madison, and as the foundation, he's done what he's done to win the Big Ten, to win all these games in succession. But the other great coach in my mind is the guy that worked for Kirby, Dan Lanning,
Right.
and worked for Nick, Dan Lanning. Dan is really good at motivating, and that whole, you see what they're saying about us, you see what they're saying about you. I mean, he's all about that.
Yeah.
And so Dante Moore and Devin Gardner, my partner in college football, mentored him. He's a Detroit kid, and Devin still works with a lot of youngsters in Detroit. He goes to all the elite 11s, quarterback camps all across the country. He's very, very active with them. Dante just turned 20. He's a baby, really. He's a really young guy. And I think one of the reasons he could possibly stay, believe it or not,
Mm.
at Oregon for another year is because he'd just like to mature another season. And he really loves it there. This isn't like a Bo Nix or Dylan Gabriel kind of quarterback. This is a kid who still believes he's got a long way to go in getting better. Now, the fact that Will Stein, his offensive coordinator, is now going to be a head coach at Kentucky. By the way, have you noticed any issues at all with Oregon, with Tosh Lapoy going to be the head coach at Cal, or Will Stein going to be the head coach at Kentucky? Have there been any issues about them going back and forth, or needing to be at their schools because they had to? Suddenly, all those problems that Lane's talking about in Baton Rouge, they obviously don't exist at
Right.
places like Oregon, where coaches are going to be head coaches, not coordinators somewhere. So it just tells you all you need to know. Bottom line is Dante Moore is the most gifted
Yeah.
and talented measurables guy that's playing the quarterback position that's left in this tournament of four. He's a can't miss, big time NFL lottery pick that's going to go a long, long way. The issue for them, I think, is can they consistently run the football? Can their offensive line dominate in this game? And Indiana's defense has just proven to be impenetrable. That they
Right.
just don't give it up. You can't run on them. Ohio State was unable to run on them. I think the first time they played, which by the way I had Oregon a week later, and I had Indiana earlier in the season. Indiana was really stuffing the run and forcing Dante to make some passes off his back foot. Pressure got to him. And if you noticed in the Texas Tech game, Texas Tech was able to get to him. Texas Tech was turning him over. Texas Tech was stopping them, stoning them on 3rd and 4th and short. Texas Tech had poor field position. They had a quarterback that was having the worst day of his life.
Yep.
And they put the ball on the ground a bunch, and they were still only down by 6 at halftime.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're in the game. That game looked like a blowout at the end, 23-0, but it was very competitive with 10 minutes left in the 4th and still winnable for Texas Tech. They
Right.
just couldn't get out of their own way offensively. That's the problem I have for Oregon with a team like Indiana.
Yeah.
If Texas Tech is going to do that to you, the only defense, in my opinion, coming into the college football playoff that was better than Texas Tech's was Indiana's.
Yeah.
And I just think Oregon is going to have a hard time getting much done on the ground. Now, they've got explosive plays in them. Dante's going to have to hit on 3 or 4 really big explosive plays. Davison, the running back for them, is a really good back. He can catch passes too. And if they can get some big plays, dynamic plays, let's say 5 plays on the ground of 20 or more yards, 3 plays in the air of 40 or more yards, Oregon can win the game. But that's the only way they do it. You're not going to have sustained drives against Indiana's defense.
Right.
Okay. And my God, that offense with Surratt, with Becker, with Omar Cooper, and Mendoza just on fire right now. There's no more accurate passer in the game now than Fernando Mendoza. He puts the ball right where it has to be. But I'd also say Dante Moore is very accurate. I just think Indiana's too good in too many places, and they'll ultimately win the game. If you're looking for a game that could get sideways, then it's the Indiana game. They could win, by 3 touchdowns. Oregon needs to keep this game close. And if they keep it close and an explosive play can win the game, then Oregon has a chance. Otherwise, I think Indiana takes care of business.
Tim, finally, I want to talk about the Crimson Tide of Alabama. You mentioned it. They got their you-know-what kicked over there in the Rose Bowl. Even the pundits in Alabama, AL.com, did you see the story that they posted yesterday?
Which I know I may have, I may not have. I'm not sure. It might
All
have
right,
gotten away
this
from me.
is what it says. The Alabama fans will never forget Indiana's 38-3 shellacking. Neither will Kalen DeBoer. His tenure will be marked by it unless the program rises from those ashes. So I've got to ask you, where does Alabama go from here?
Well, listen, in real time, with just a little brush of reality, I'm just going to throw a little brush of reality at them. Okay, they were fortunate to get where they got. They were able to take a team with 3 losses further than any team in the playoff era has ever taken a team. And you'd have to look back and say that's the most successful 10-4 team in maybe the history of college football.
Right.
Okay, so let's look at it from that perspective, shall we? I said countless times leading up to the game. The question was, Tim, what do you think will be the narrative in the aftermath of the quarterfinals? And I said the narrative will be a massive wake-up call for fans in their locales who think they're all that and aren't. Alabama fans would not listen to people like me or me when I told them, you're going to get your butt whipped by Indiana.
Yeah.
And I said it. I said it many times over. Now, did I think they'd lose by 35? No. I thought they'd lose decisively, 17, 20, not 35. The 35 thing, and the reason why that became such a narrative was the way the defense just sort of, stopped playing late in the 4th quarter.
Yeah.
That they Fernando's brother came in and was still lighting them up. And that was, I think, a problem for some of their fans. But that's just human nature of college football players when they know that they've been embarrassed in a game. College football is a game of emotions, and once that emotion is let out, and you're, oh my God, what happened to us? You're going to give up a few extra scores, and that's what happened to the Crimson Tide. Where do you go from here? You continue to try to get better through recruiting. You try to get an offensive line that can, block for the running attack, which you didn't have this year. And you continue to trust in Kalen DeBoer. These people that were coming after me when I was saying what I did about Michigan, and all my observation was about the Michigan job was that there was history there with him, and that this could be a really good spot for him to get ahead of the posse. And of course, people indicted me saying, Brandon, we love our coach. Yeah, okay. How long did that last? Till about the second quarter of the Rose Bowl. These fans that are on the lunatic fringe side of Alabama are just, they don't listen, and they don't care to listen, and they just want to indict those of us that objectively tell them what we think when we're asked questions.
Amen.
And I mean, that's just what it is. You can scream from the mountaintops, and Paul, who's their mouthpiece, can say what he wants to say, whether it's on a show with Stephen A. or whatever the hell he's doing with these embrace debate debacles that I don't watch anymore. I see some of the sound bites from them when I'm watching his show. I still watch his show because I like Paul and I get a kick out of it. It's humorous. A lot of times it's pretty funny. But the reality is they're in a fog and they just don't get it. And when you've won the way they've won, and Saban did all the things that he did, I get it to a certain extent. They had a similar meltdown when Bear Bryant left.
Yeah.
And they went through, Shula, then Dubose, then Gene, who won a national title, and then, the beat went on with Mike Price and all the other stuff before, Nick Saban came in to save the day. But those were different times.
Yeah.
We're living in the NIL and portal era now, and you're never going to be able to stockpile the talent the way Nick was able to crack the code and stockpile the talent. Coaching in and of itself is just that. It's coaching. It's not playing. This is the time of the year when players control the outcomes of the game, not the coaches. Okay. Kalen DeBoer is not suddenly a bad coach. He didn't just fall off a turnip truck in Pasadena and suddenly lose his abilities. He's one of the top 4 or 5 coaches in the country. I mean, he is. They couldn't run the ball. I know history will tell you Alabama fans and their program has always been about being able to run the football. Okay. Yeah. Pound the rock.
Hit you in the mouth, man.
But that's images and impressions. That's all that is images and impressions. To build a program to succeed from a national standpoint in college football today, you got to rework it every year.
Right.
You got to rework it every year, and you got to build your team the way an NFL general manager builds a team.
Yeah.
And it's not stockpiling and gray shirting and all the different things that Nick Saban was able to do. He could apply that part of the NFL into what he was doing, but because he was where he was and because of who he was, he could get a level of talent and convince those guys to stay for 2 years maybe before they got playing time. You can't do that anymore.
Right.
You can't. So whoever wins the title this year, you got to reboot, reload, and start all over again, or you're going to be disappointing the next year.
Yep.
This is the era we're in. And flies in the ointment that I popularized are now flies that are legit. They're not just flies that are going to pop up and maybe win one big game. These are flies that can be annoying all season long. Indiana, even though they were in the Big Ten, they were considered a fly in the ointment. Well, look at them now.
Yeah.
I mean, they're a horse fly that can beat the horse's ass out of just about anybody they play.
Yeah.
So that's the bottom line, is you got to change your mindset about what's going on. Fans that don't know who's coaching the other teams, and Alabama's fans don't, you better start catching up with what's going on around you, because it's not just about you anymore. And when the
Right.
game's over, when Saban lost a game, it was never about the other teams being successful. It was about our guys just didn't play every play the way they needed to play. And he basically was able to get fans to believe that all the time. It's not about the opposition, it's about us. We're just, we lost the game. They didn't win it, we lost it. Never give credit to the opposition. Nick got that from Belichick. Okay. That's
Yeah.
just the way he was raised. Well, fans, they believe that. They got caught
Mhm.
up in that. And now you got to understand, guy on the other side's pretty good. Not only does he put on a jock strap too, but he's getting paid too.
Yeah.
Your guys aren't the only ones getting paid. Those guys are getting paid too.
Yeah.
I thought it was great. Orgeron was great, wasn't he, when he said, we used to have to go in the back door. Now we can go in the front door.
That's right.
Everybody's got them now. Everybody's got them, and you got to understand that.
Tim, you're talking about the history of Alabama and the coaches and things, and the harsh reality. And I've said this to countless dozens and dozens, if not hundreds, of Alabama fans. Bear Bryant didn't go out on top. He went out at the Liberty Bowl. Nick Saban didn't go out on top. It had been several years since he won a national title. And I was like, it's not like they were locked and loaded and they were running at a super premium high when they walked out the door, but that's how you remember them. That's how you remember Bear. That's how you remember Coach Saban. And let's face it, they did not walk out with everything running at a – was it going great? Yes. Was it running at the super high premium level? No, it wasn't. It was actually trending down for Bear and Nick.
Right.
And that's the thing that Bama fans – it's that whole thing of if you don't learn from history, those are the ones who will repeat it.
Right.
And I think
as
we're
an example,
seeing this all over again.
Yeah. I think fans will look back on the 2019 LSU team as maybe one of the greatest college football teams ever assembled. And with it happening before the NIL portal era, kind of amazing when you think about it, right?
Right.
And then in 2020, in a season when we could have had no football, Alabama put together a team that probably statistically rivaled and maybe surpassed that LSU team in 2020. I mean, that was a team that was pretty amazing with great receivers, big time players at every position, and they could pound the rock too. They could run the football.
Right.
Those will probably be the last two teams that people recall as being just incredible, dominant, you're not going to beat them teams before the NIL portal era. If Orgeron had the NIL and portal era with him post 2019, he wouldn't have lost his job at the end of the season in 2020.
Right.
I mean, he would have held on to his gig more than likely. So it is about the players now, and it's not this coach and that. When I hear these fans on Paul's show, God bless them, talking about this coach and that coach, and that's all about it's not about the coaching as much as it is about procuring the players.
Yeah.
Now, great coaches can get the best out of players. Yeah. Okay. But this every game being a referendum on the coach, please stop. Let it go. Players play. And at this time of the season, we really notice that, how much it matters and how much it means to these guys. In some of these non-college football playoff bowl games, did you see how excited the kids were that were playing at Iowa to win the game against Vanderbilt? They loved playing with one another. They loved Coach Ferentz. They care. Do they want players sometimes want to play hard, want to be successful, but they also want to play for their coach too. Okay. And that's another thing that really amazed me about Ole Miss's performance. For Pete Golding to have the love and affection that team was giving him throughout the course of the game. And if you notice during the game, when things popped up that were, not positive for Ole Miss, and he would talk to a player, like a defensive back picked up a pass interference, a crucial pass interference penalty, and Golding called him over, and Golding gave him some coaching, some good hard coaching, and then he gave him a pat and he smiled and he said, "Hey, play the next play." That's that kind of stuff. I watch that as much as anything
Right.
in critical games. And Pete Golding, for a guy that admitted that he really didn't care about being a head coach, made a hell of a good head coach.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I want to say this before I get off with you guys today. I
Okay.
understand you got a new address now, right? 365 Ole Miss. Is that what it is?
Yeah,
Is that
365
what we're
for the
talking?
network. It's going to be like
Network.
247.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Right. Well, 365. I do the Baylor show for from time to time with my boy Smoke, David Smoke, and the guys. That's 365. Sick 'em. Um, when I saw the way those teams, the way the players were responding to Golding, and for that matter, to the offensive coach that was playing the role of Kiffin on the sidelines, who was in constant contact with Weiss and kind of governing what was going on with the offense from the sidelines. I saw a level of togetherness, and there was no doubt who the leader was. And when Golding led the team out, I noticed he led the team to the field, and then he curved off to the side with his kid, and the team ran out. It wasn't about Lane leading the team. He made no bones about the fact that this is their team. It's not my team, it's their team. And I think he said, "I'm looking at this year. The finish of this season is more of an interim position. It'll be my team next year." Well, that's a nice, humble thing to say. Shows a lot of humility and lack of hubris, which is what the program needed. But there's no denying who the head coach of that team is, whether he
Yeah.
likes it or not. That team is his, and they are identifying with him. And it was something to behold in my mind. For him to have only 2 wins in his head coaching career, and both of them are the kind of wins that Lane Kiffin only hopes to have, is an amazing stat. That's an amazing stat to be sitting on. And regardless of whether they win or lose, and if they do advance and they get Indiana, I don't think they can win that game. I don't. I may be wrong, but I think Indiana is the best team in college football.
Yes.
But for them if they get past Miami and get to the title game, my God, what an unbelievable story and run for everything those kids went through. Okay, for everything that they've been through, and the management of that is off the charts. And for them to be prepared to get Trinidad Chambliss signed up if he gets the waiver for next year, to hold on to Kewan Lacey when
Right.
Kiffin was trying to get him and doing all kinds of things to try to undermine them holding on to those kind of guys in the future. That just tells me that not only has Golding got his act together, but Keith Carter, the athletic director, Walker Jones, the kid I called his games when he was at Ole Miss in the 90s on those old JP games back in the day. These guys that are running that outfit, they're using NIL and portal money. Absolutely. They're doing what you have to do. All right. But the leaders of their programs, okay, whether it's in baseball, okay, with Bianco, Chris Beard's the only sort of outlier that I see, the basketball coach, but it's all Ole Miss people that love Ole Miss.
Yes.
Keith Carter is surrounding that program, and Pete Golding is a guy now that is all Ole Miss. He's a Delta State boy. That's dad was a high school coach in the New Orleans, South Louisiana area. Now you get a Frank Wilson who was the interim at LSU, who can go into New Orleans and get players left and right. That's got to be a heavy duty recruiting area for them. The thing I love about what they're doing at Ole Miss is they are making it about Ole Miss.
Yes.
Okay. I
Yeah.
mean, they got the Manning family back involved, which was something Lane Kiffin was never going to do. Never going to do. And so that tells you that regardless of the outcome this week or beyond, it's already an unbelievable story. I think it does continue to the championship game. And that's an unbelievable, in my opinion, an unbelievable accomplishment for them to pull that off.
Yes.
Even if they don't win the national title, it's an unbelievable achievement. But I wanted to say this because at a time when it looks like schools and teams are just buying what they're buying and bringing in people that have no connection to the program, it's pretty obvious to me that Keith Carter, who I called his basketball games in the NCAA tournament when Rod Barnes was coaching, and then After that, they had even further success at Ole Miss. But I mean, Keith is an Ole Miss guy, and he wants Ole Miss people, in his program. And I think that's very, very important.
Yes.
I'm not gonna deny I'm a father of an Ole Miss grad, and I will tell you that the 4 years that my daughter was there, were just joyous for our family. Uh, I wish we still had the condo. I wish we hadn't sold the condo on Old Taylor Road, uh, because it'd be worth a hell of a lot more right now in the open market if we hadn't.
You ain't
But we
lying,
did we
brother.
did we did we did sell it. Um, but the people there, from Coach Crawford, who was part of that program and passed away a few years ago, to Langston Rogers. I'm thinking about the old
Well,
chicken
yeah, the
hawk.
chicken hawk,
I'm think
Langston
I'm thinking
Rogers.
about I'm thinking about Langston Rogers, was the joy that must be permeating through people there that have been waiting since 1963 to see a team accomplish, even through the Archie Manning era, as great as that was, and he was a folk hero. They never had the success that this team is having, and no team has had really since that undefeated team in '63. And that team was really overlooked nationally because of the political strife and racial strife that was going on in our country at that time. I was only 7 years old, but I remember Ole Miss being really that good, and never, there's no way where the AP and UPI riders going to put them where they needed to be. There's just so many really good people at Ole Miss that deserve all this, that
Mhm.
deserve this opportunity to be the only team left standing in the Southeastern Conference.
And
It's
Tim,
Shangri-La for them. I mean, I'm
yeah,
telling you, it's Shangri-La for them. My daughter and her kids that are 5 and 9, and her husband, who is a proud Ole Miss grad and now a plastic surgeon, they are beaming right now, and I
yeah,
couldn't be happier for them. Okay, and that same happiness I feel for them, I also feel sad for my daughter that's an LSU girl, because it's been
right.
painful for her. It has been, and I don't know when it's going to change. I don't know when that's going to change. Some might say when LSU starts kicking everybody's butt next year, and that may happen. And I'll give Lane all the credit in the world. But right now, Lane looks awfully bad. He looks awfully bad, and he's got a lot of public relations work to do to fix things. And over time, maybe he will. I do think this: Ole Miss people, as they continue to move forward, uh, let's also remember that Lane got you into this position.
Right.
Now, is this coach taking you and doing things that are unbelievable, and doing them with maybe some roadblocks that have been put up by Lane since he left? Yes, but be smart, be wise, be Ole Miss people, be hospitable, and give Lane Kiffin his due for getting you to this position where you could pull off something quite this special.
Hmm.
Tim, look, man, this has been a blast. Thank you, as always. Be safe in your travels this
Hmm.
basketball season. We would love to catch up with you in a couple of months to talk about the basketball conference tournaments, and then, of course, the March Madness. Happy New Year to you and yours. This has been an absolute blast. Thank you, and we will catch up with you later on, my friend.
Happy to be on, and congratulations on the new location for your podcast. And I can't wait to be back on again. Have me back anytime you like. And by the way, to your sponsor, that meat is really good.
Thank you,
All
man. I
right,
appreciate
that
that.
that Christmas gift was pretty doggone good. I've already digested quite a bit of it, so thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank
Hey,
you. I will be sure and let them know, okay?
hey,
All right,
Tim, before
you
we
got
head out, we started this conversation talking basketball, this and that. And I got ruined as a child growing up in the Memphis area and those great Memphis State teams that you used to call
yeah,
the games for time to time.
right,
Do
right.
you have a quick, fun story about the late Dana Kirk? Because I
Oh
absolutely,
God,
ever since
yes.
I've loved him.
Oh God, yes. Dana, I got on a plane in 1983 with that team. Now, they were all freshmen and sophomores back then, and that was the year I was doing games at that time for WPTY, the independent
Yeah,
station.
Channel
And it,
24.
yeah, in '84, Jimmy Rayburn and the people from what would later become Jefferson Pilot and Raycom. Jimmy Rayburn had a company, Lorimar Sports at that time, and they were producing, had the rights to the Metro Conference with Cincinnati and Virginia
Cincinnati,
Tech, Louisville,
South
Tulane,
Carolina,
Southern Mississippi,
Florida
South Carolina.
State.
Yeah, all those teams. In fact, the retired play-by-play guy for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and FSU, the great mean Gene Deckerhoff, who just retired. I met Gene doing the Metro Conference tournament and coming to Metro Conference games in Tallahassee. But in '83, and I think this is one of the reasons they hired me, I did about 20 Memphis games with George Lapidus, the late
Oh,
George Lapidus.
yes.
And and we had a blast doing those games. And I got on the team plane going up to Virginia Tech right after Memphis had become number one. They were number one in the country for about 8 hours. They were
Yeah, I
they had to
remember
play
this.
a Monday
Virginia Tech
game.
got them.
Yeah, Virginia with Del Curry, with Steph Curry's dad. Del Curry was a great player at Virginia Tech, and we're flying up there, and this is like my fourth or fifth game to do, and flying on this it was like a charter flight, but it was a propeller flight. It was like four engines, but one of those Gulf South Airstream flights, and the weather's a little shaky, and we're getting bounced around a little bit. And Dana is right across the aisle from me. I was sitting towards the front, and Lapidus was by me, and he said, hey, Brando, I heard that game you did. It was pretty good. I put in word for you, get that Metro Conference deal next year. Now I'm working in Baton Rouge at the CBS affiliate, and I'm making about $35,000 a year, and I'm looking for any break I can get in the business. And I went, oh, really, Coach? You put in a good word for him? Oh yeah, I told him that this kid Brando is pretty good. I said, well. I said, well, I appreciate that. And he said, well, there'll be a time when, I might need to call in a favor. I piss people off. And so when I piss some people off, will you have my back? he made no bones. He made no bones about it. I'll do you a good if you do me a good. I was like, Dana, done. Not a problem. I'm looking to get ahead too, pal. And he came up to me towards the end of the year that year. And this was before the 84 and 85. By 85, they made the Final Four. They were the only non-Big East team to go to Lexington with Villanova, Georgetown, and St. John's. And by this time, I've gone to ESPN. I'm doing the ACC tournament, and it's 1985. I am in Lexington, and he says, "Did you get too good for us?" I said, "I mean, I just got some opportunities and some breaks." Yeah. Now I know what you did. I know what you did, but I just want you to know I had a letter jacket all ready to give you, and then you left us to go do those games on ESPN. So you still say some nice things. I might give you the letter, but I'm not going to give you the jacket. You like that? I'll give you the letter, but I'm not going to give you the jacket. He was a fun-loving guy.
Next time, Tim, I have a great George Lapidus story for you. I'll save it for the next show.
Yeah, George was sort of Feinbaum before Feinbaum, don't you think?
Yeah.
I think he was. Yeah, kind of was.
Growing up in the Memphis area, looking at the bumper stickers that said "I beat Lapidus," that still rings true. George Lapidus, he was the Ron Burgundy of Memphis.
Oh God, yes. He knew everybody. He might as well have been the mayor. He said. But I guarantee you, every mayor that wanted to get elected sought his help to get elected. That's for sure.
I believe that. I absolutely do believe that.
Tim,
take care, fellas.
Be safe. Thank you, man. This has been an absolute blast, and be safe in your travels. Okay.
You got it. Take care, boys.
Tim.
All right.
Happy New Year to you. Bye-bye.
Heath, there were a ton of hot takes right there from Tim Brando, and I will definitely be posting all of them on YouTube, on Facebook, and of course on Twitter. Oh my gosh, Tim must have had 12 cups of coffee today.
Maybe. Tim's always been a great friend of the show. He's been good to both of us, and can't thank Tim enough. But Tim sharing his insight. Tim's never going to hold back, and that's why we enjoy him and love him, and that's why everyone enjoys and loves Tim. He never holds back, and he says what he wants to. There you go. Tim just brings it. He brings it hard. He doesn't care what you think or who thinks it. But yeah, Tim told a story here on the show back in the day. Roy Kramer was saying something, and he took a shot at Tim. He was doing a speech on stage and took a shot at Tim, and Tim gets up and walks up on stage and like starts talking to him. He's like, well, Roy, if you would have done this instead, of course, the whole place is laughing. But I mean, that's who Timmy B is, and that's why we love him, and that's why we enjoy him. And I don't always agree with everything Tim says, but you know what? Tim makes a lot of sense in a lot of things he says.
Tim, my goodness. I'm still in the interview mode. Heath, we have gone an hour and 50 minutes. I think it is time for us to shut up for this edition of the show. We will end it on that note. This has been an absolute blast. Make sure you check out my YouTube channel, the Stingray Network, for all of the hot takes in case you missed this episode, and a little bit of a shorter version in case you don't want to sit through all an hour and 50 minutes of content. And we will be back in the morning with yet another great show when we will continue to dive into the playoffs between Ole Miss and Miami. And then, of course, we've got Oregon and Indiana. We will see you tomorrow morning right back here on the Stingray Show. And Heath, we are done.
Finally.
Thank you, Tim. It has been a blast. Catch you tomorrow.
Yeah, just under 152 minutes.
For over 100 years, the Bank of Moundville has been a name clients can trust. The Bank of Moundville is more than just a bank. They're your neighbors, your friends, and your community partners. Their unique approach to financial education has always centered around families. They believe that financially strong homes today lay the foundation for a brighter futures for tomorrow's generation. You can call them today at 205-371-2227. Once again, that is 371-2227 to schedule an appointment to build your financial security. The Bank of Moundville is a member FDIC and an equal housing lender. We all enjoy the changing of the seasons. Fall is a special time to be thankful for our families and many blessings. It is also a great time, though, to review your insurance coverages. Alpha Insurance and hometown agent Jeff Nee can help you personalize your insurance needs. The more you protect, the more you save. With helpful customer service teams right here to serve you in Alabama and over in Mississippi, you can count on Alpha to provide the insurance plan that provides the protection that you need. For all your auto, home, life, and business insurance needs, call Alpha agent Jeff Nee or drop by his office at 202 McFarland Boulevard East, Suite 101 in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. And remember, with Jeff Nee, the more you protect, the more you save. Ladies and gentlemen, Bill Ferguson of South's Finest Meats, the official sponsor of the Stingray Show, has a message for you.
Everything we do here is fresh and custom made, custom to order. I tell people when they come in, if you don't see what you like, ask somebody. We've got the capability to process it, make it. If you want a different blend of hamburger meat, we'll do you a brisket blend. We'll do you a chuck blend. We'll do you a sirloin blend. We do all that right here. We are a butcher shop. That's what we do. So please don't be afraid to ask if you don't see what you like. We can make you any size patty you want. We can make you any amount you want. People call me and say, well, how many patties come in the box? Well, ma'am, how many would you like in a box? You want 12, we'll put 12. You want 25, we'll put 25.
That's just one of the many things that South's Finest Meats has to offer, the official butcher shop of the Stingray Show.